sorry, which?
The reduction in contractual services, that is something to do with public relations activity. Is that someone we contracted with just for a short period of time
Just
last year?
activities. We absorbed, as I said, there's 3 different divisions, smaller they are, with communications and marketing. And I absorbed all the cost, additional benefit cost from the public information end of the budget. Instead of taking it from Citizens First and the local government channel, there really wasn't any money there to take it, to fund it, so it would be flat, and that's what that is.
Okay.
These were services we purchased that we just won't be purchasing.
Yes, we won't be
This
doing
won't be
that.
purchasing them. And
Maybe additional advertising, things like that we won't do in order to make sure we gave you a budget with no increases.
okay, because we still, though, would have things like the source, all the information that we usually try to give to the public, though. What I think is the point I'm trying to get to is that we're not decreasing any of that information that we try to disseminate to the public and let them know what's going on.
No. We'll still be doing all of that. We just may do one ad less,
Okay.
but we'll still have the source and all those things we've been doing to inform the public.
Right. And the things that we have in the city that we market, things like our museums and different events that happen, like Get Downtown, that sort of thing, where is that budgeted? Because I know that when we were talking at the museum, and it's always a limited amount of money that we are hearing to get the word out about what's going on in our museum system, what's going on in our city, and I'm just looking at, where is that budgeted in here?
That's budgeted under public information, under contractual services. Last year when council appropriated, I believe, $70,000 to communications and marketing, we've looked at that as pooled resources for the marketing partnership. So we've tried to help out the museum when there were activities and he had no funding to promote, or Parks and Recreation, really anything that the marketing partnership, the members are involved in to promote their activities. There was Get Downtown. We used funding for that. All the citizen engagement activities with both the budget and Heritage High School, all the activities that was funded from there.
But like the museum, like when H was saying 181, well, that's the Point of Honor, the Carriage House, and that's the museums, but that's their piece of what they have, but they work hand in hand with us.
And all the members of
In
the
the
partnership
city.
have very little funding to do marketing.
Right.
And that's why when council made the appropriation to communications and marketing for marketing, we tried to capitalize on that and assist all the members of the partnership to help them augment what they're doing. So we can add those dollars to help promote the museum or help to promote Parks and Rec, economic development, all of those members of the partnership. So it gives us ability to leverage.
And do we work hand in hand with the tourism? And the money, because there's money allocated in here this year to increase that amount.
We work with, the tourism as part of the partnership. We would like the relationship to be better and be more productive than it is. According to the Director of Tourism, they concentrate on things 50 square miles outside of the city, and our focus is mainly what's going on in the city. And so we try to promote those things. So I think we may have 2 different missions.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay, thank you.
What do you mean they concentrate 50 miles out of the city?
I believe what Becky has told us, the Director of Travel and Tourism, is that their concentration starts 50 square miles outside of the city. I believe that, remember, that's what their idea of tourism is. Ours is try to promote traveling, museums, our parks and our trails, because we think it's important that the residents who live here know about these amenities. We're not prepared, nor do we have the funding to try to promote someone from New York coming to the city. Right. but we are interested in people who live in the city and who live around the city, who live in the counties. We want them to know we have a great trail system. We want them to know about our museum system and all the other amenities. So that's what we try to leverage the funding we have to do those sort of things.
Because like the sesquicentennial is coming up with the Civil War and what went on, and we have a lot of trails here, and we have Sandusky House and those things, and then there's the museum, when we were there touring, has that display. But that would be probably attracting people out of the region as well as people in the region. So what I'm hoping is that we work hand in hand with one another.
The partnership does try to do that.
Okay.
Again, we have not been as successful as we wish we
Okay.
could be. As far as the what's going on with the Civil War, we do have, I have the LTV crew have been shooting video, and we'll be doing special programming for that, and they're talking to the museum, and they're talking to Sandusky House, so we can do something to commemorate those things. And I don't know what travel and tourism, what the CVB is doing with that.
But they are involved with that, because I know they're working with Sandusky House. And I'm not sure exactly what either.
But they're not coordinating their efforts with you.
No. Like I said, we do try when the partnership, when we meet, that's another good thing about it, is that we can share information and help each other in that way. But we do have some difficulty getting information about what's going on with the CVB and tourism.
Now, am I hearing then that we, the city, would be willing to work closer and more hand in hand, the Bureau or the committee that you're talking about, that we just might need to encourage
We would love
that?
to.
Okay.
If we have
Okay.
expanded the original membership on the partnership, we've included now Greater Lynchburg Transit Company is part of that because it just made sense to us. And so we would love to, because we can be more effective, all of us, if we're talking to each other and working together.
Absolutely.
We think that's the best use of taxpayers' money. It doesn't make sense for us to work at odds with each other. And so we have reached out, and we have been attempting to do so, sometimes successful, sometimes we're not.
Okay.
And when it's not successful, I mean, I just want to be sure I understand. You, from your side, you're trying to reach out, and it's not working. So the source of the failure to cooperate comes from where?
I think it would depend on who you ask. Since you're asking me,
I'm asking.
we think there's some issues on the other side, on the CVB side. I think there's a thought that the waters start to get muddy about who's in charge of tourism, and I think I can speak for the members of the partnership that we believe all of us are tourism advocates, or should be. We should all be promoting our city, whether it's to the people who live here or 50 miles out or just around the corner, because it just makes this city a better city to promote it. And so I think most of the members of the partnership, we really don't care whose name is on it or who gets credit for it, as long as people know all the things we have to offer. And so, but I think there's some ownership problems, and thinking that you have to have tourism behind your name, and we just don't believe that that's necessary. That if we all work together, we can leverage this funding we all have, and we can all do a better job and be more effective.
So I'm hearing on the partnership that we have the museums, Parks and Rec, we have our economic development. Who are the partnerships?
We have Lynch's Landing.
Lynch's Landing.
The city schools.
Okay.
GLTC.
Okay.
And the CVB.
Okay.
I believe
Well, it
that's,
seems like, and all are willing, of course, so maybe we should have the tourism folks in here to talk, because we do have a substantial amount of money that there's an increase this year. Yeah. Well, actually, it's about 300, isn't it? Yes. It's meeting an obligation, though, that we have spelled out in a contractual situation. But if we need to work together more, that's why I'm asking, because I remember when we went to the museum, and you remember that. those who were there that day, we were talking about the things that go on there, Night at the Museum and the different events at Point of Honor, and now that the bridge is open, I agree. We really do need to work together, and whatever it takes to make that happen, you know, I appreciate your candidness. Thank you. And I hope we haven't put you on the spot.
I think the partnership has been able to work well together and be effective in what we do, and been able to leverage what funding we have so we can promote things like what goes on at the museum and our parks and all the other amenities and attractions in Lynchburg. So,
And money's so tight, we all need to pitch in together. Councilmember Helgeson, then I'll go to Councilmember Perro.
On the contractual services, since 2010, that's grown quite substantially, about 26,000 since then. What is included in the contractual services?
the contractual services, I think in the beginning, when it's 26, is mainly for the Source newsletter. That was that full page. And so we still do that. And then council added to it significantly last year for marketing. And that's the money that we use to leverage with the marketing partnership.
And I think we should have that on, at least Kim, on the list as far as what that is. You know, what is those differences? That's a sizable increase from a percentage standpoint. So to see a little more full.
The majority of that is $50,000 we put in last year. We just dropped $50,000 into that line item. But we'll explain what's happened
For the
since then.
Source is what I'm hearing, because
No,
you,
the money was already
Marketing,
in
for
there
marketing.
for the Source.
Oh, right, for
It's
marketing.
for marketing,
Gotcha.
and it's for those items. I mean, what we've used it thus far for is things like we've set aside $10,000 for a special events grant program to help, because we believe special events bring people in to the city where they spend money. It's $10,000 set aside for that to help defray the cost, for city costs, not to help them put on the event. But if they have an event and they need help from the police and public works, it helps pay those costs. So, and also of that 10,000, part of that 2,000 of that 10 is set aside for tournaments as well. Because when you think about bringing a softball tournament, it could bring in 20, 25 teams with parents and grandparents. That's a significant impact, we feel, on the community. And again, we've used it for citizen engagement, things like the Riverfront Park opening, Get Downtown. We're looking at setting aside some funding for a gateway sign in the city. So those are some of the items we've used that funding for, the
so like,
50,000.
for example, if the Blue Angels are coming, which they are coming, yay,
Yes.
we're all going to work together with that one, right? Do we work with Campbell County and we work with the tourism? And, I mean, is that something that?
The partnership we've already discussed it, and we're going to, as more details come out, see where we can fit and promote it, because we think we should be promoting the things in the city. So even if people come here just for that period of time to see the Blue Angels and leave, we hope to make an impression on them. So when they're thinking of something to do to grab the kids and jump in the car, they'll think back to, well, let's go back to Lynchburg because of, the museum, we didn't get to see it last time, or the parks and trails we didn't get to do last time. So we plan to do something with that. I don't think the CVB is, because again, it doesn't fit in their definition.
Because it's my understanding people come in from out of state to watch that.
Well, that's what we were thinking, but in our last partnership meeting when we discussed it, that was not their thinking.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Perro.
You finished? Yeah, all right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just going back on you're saying the CVB?
I'm sorry, Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Correct.
Which is travel and tourism, same.
Which is in partnership with the Greater Lynchburg, or the Lynchburg Regional Chamber of Commerce, correct?
The Chamber of Commerce has the contract to provide that service for the city.
Okay. What we're seeing is the natural conflict that's going to arise between a regional service and a local service. And I understand why there would be some conflict, because our contract with the Greater Lynchburg Chamber of Commerce is about bringing people into the region. And so their mission, and I think Ms. Martin is exactly right, their mission doesn't exactly line up. They are just as responsible for bringing people to Appomattox as they are to Lynchburg. And
Well, I disagree with that, because Appomattox isn't giving them any money. The intention or the understanding is that if somebody goes to Appomattox, they're probably going to spend a night in Lynchburg and have a meal in Lynchburg. We're not doing it out of trying to have them stay in Appomattox or eat a meal in Appomattox, because Appomattox is not putting any money into the tourism program at all.
who is putting money into it?
We are.
That's all, just us.
Just us.
I think
It's
this
just
year
us.
Campbell County is giving some of their money, which is probably less than $10,000 to the regional program for marketing, for some advertising. And Joanne's right, their goal is very much to bring dollars that are not in the region already, in the region, to the region. Now, the assumption is if somebody's in Appomattox, chances are they're going to eat a meal in Lynchburg now and then, shop in Lynchburg now and then. So their goal is very much to bring them from outside the region into the region to spend their money here. But they are not, I mean, the money is Lynchburg money. It's not Appomattox money or Bedford money or Amherst money.
So
I think
we
also
entered into a
Turner-
contract that would benefit the region that only we're paying into?
We entered into a contract that markets the region to benefit Lynchburg. So, I mean, we can argue the semantics of that, but again, the idea is that people who visit the region, that there's not enough amenities in any one community for someone to stay more than a day.
Right.
And that if they're going to stay 2 or 3 days, they're going to need to go to D-Day, Appomattox, the Parkway. They're going to need to enjoy the area as a region because no locality can stand alone. But they're going to probably stay in Lynchburg and eat their meals in Lynchburg.
I'm all for the regional approach to tourism and marketing. I think it's the right thing to do. I'd like to see the other localities pitch in a bit, and I knew that we were certainly the heavy in that regard with $300,000. Now,
But Turner, can I
no.
just interject something? Because I think you might be talking apples and oranges. I don't think that what Joanne said, maybe I misinterpreted it, is that they define their goal as marketing things within a 50-mile radius outside of the city. I thought that what you meant was that their target audience are people who live outside of a 50-mile radius, but their goal is to get people from outside a 50-mile radius
Exactly.
into
the
Lynchburg.
city.
So they're not marketing a 50-mile ring around Lynchburg. They're marketing Lynchburg to people who are more than 50 miles away from Lynchburg.
Yes, and they're marketing Lynchburg as part of a region that
Well,
includes D-Day,
right.
Appomattox, wineries.
But we're paying them to market Lynchburg.
Exactly.
Yes.
well, I still see the reason why there's a conflict. It sounds like it's just not really very clear, especially if you've got a regional group managing what's supposed to be a local contract.
And it's not
That's why
just
it was a-
300.
it was a bad
It'll
contract to
end
start
up
with.
being $1 million,
Oh,
right?
it's almost $2 million.
Right.
It's almost 2. By the time we have, is it
Well, I think when
1.?
it lost in another year, it'll be closer to 1.5
Could we-
or 1.7.
Could we add this?
Yes,
As
let's do it.
as a performance measure so that I can understand,
Well,
track it to return somehow?
The tourism program is required by contract to have performance measures and to give you that in their annual report.
Which we've
Which is
just
due-
started getting.
Well, last year was the first time, and the second one is due in about a month.
Right.
Yeah, she came last year and did that.
So, and I have asked her to come and make that presentation.
And we
to
are very
council.
specific about having measurable goals and showing quarter-over-quarter resuls.
Yes. And
And
so
where
they're
I
required to
think it
provide
should-
both quarterly reports and an annual report. Now, forward those all to you.
When was
So
the last
we're-
time they were
yeah.
out of compliance?
A year ago, they were out of compliance.
So, but I like what you're saying, Councilmember Perro, about the goals and objectives. But would it be included in ours, or would it be included in theirs? We would add that, because I don't care where it's included. The whole point of my bringing this out, it needs to be included somewhere, that we have things within the city that if we're paying a large majority for, anyway, in the contract, that I would hope that there would be more working together. Where I was hearing when I went to the museum, that wasn't happening, because I just feel that's part of the region we live in, that's just part, I mean, D-Day, I mean, whatever we have in the region definitely needs to be marketed and to get people here. You know, I remember Representative Garrett always talking about we need a destination. You know, he's always big about that. What is it that we have as a destination? We have a lot here. I just think we need to package it better.
I would like, we're obviously making a investment in tourism, and I'd like to see some way that we know in dollars if we're making a return on that investment or not.
And that is in the annual report.
Right, it is.
Okay, which I haven't seen in a year now, so.
Well,
but
it comes
we'll
every
see
year,
in about
yes.
30 months, 30 days.
Right.
Okay, all right, so I've got one final comment to make, Madam Mayor, on a little bit different topic. You know, Ms. Martin, at first blush, people might think that the local government channel is a frivolous expenditure of money, but I am amazed. I am absolutely amazed how many times I get stopped by people that watch this, and I think it is an invaluable source of information to the public, and it is not frivolous in any way, shape, or form. And it's just a fantastic resource that we're doing, and it's a great way to access government information. So I just
We have
wanted to bring it up.
Sunshine Week every year round.
They had a program this afternoon on disaster preparedness. I watched how to cook a meal over an open fire. So if my power goes out,
You know how to
I'm
do it.
prepared to deal with that
Wonderful.
disaster. It was
Wonderful.
done at point of honor.
Wonderful. It's a
Yeah.
great source. I have a lot of folks who stop me as well.
And I know
Love
they're
it.
watching council meetings because they tell me my tie's crooked.
Yeah.
I would just say to add to that with LTV that we understand that with technology changing, not everyone has subscribed to Comcast, and now there's Dish and Fios and you name it. So that's why we're really glad that whatever programming we have on LTV, we also have available on our internet site as well. So if people don't have Comcast, they still can go to lynchburgva.gov and watch all the programming there.
Very good. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. I'd like to just put an exclamation point behind what Councilman Perro said with regard to the value not just of the cable channel, but all of the marketing features and facilities that come through your office. I also want a clarification. A figure was thrown out a minute ago about the total contract with the Chamber and Tourism. That was $1.2 million for the entire term of the contract?
No,
That's what's budgeted in fiscal year 2012, $1.241 million.
So that contract by itself is more than double of our entire Department for Marketing and Communications. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great observation.
The director, there is a nearly 2% increase in that department associated with certification pay related to an employment agreement with a staff person. On page 92, the accounting division, there is a slight increase due to contractual services associated with some maintenance contracts for equipment and audit fees. On page 93, in billings and collection, there is no change in that budget.
We previously asked Joanne Martin with regard to the cooperation between the Chamber and Tourism and Marketing and Communications. I understand you do work to some degree with the Tourism and Chamber. How would you describe that relationship?
My main interaction with them is as part of the marketing partnership. I guess I believe from my side of the fence that tourism is one of the most dynamic forms of economic development, so I would hope that that relationship would be very close. And I will just describe my experience on the marketing partnership with tourism. It's challenging.
Challenging meaning there's room for improvement?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any plans to improve that you have control over?
I think all the rest of the members, Joanne and Doug and Kay, we talk about it on a regular basis of, how we may be able to reach out. But I think, back to Councilmember Perry's, Turner Perry's comments before that, there just may be a, disagreement on what things are, but I'm looking for, my budget looks like this today because of collaboration with almost anybody that I can find, and especially city departments. So I guess I just look for that spirit of collaboration, especially where the citizens of Lynchburg are footing the bill. So it may be that I don't understand all the intricacies of tourism, but, I'm looking for places. We need to be flexible, and we need to capitalize on opportunities, and sometimes they don't always look like a definition. So I'm just looking for collaboration, and maybe there's some things that Becky can shed that light on that maybe we could do better, but I really don't know what those would be.
Okay, thank you, and I want to congratulate you on your work and achievements with Delta Star and J. Crew recently.
Thank you. Hope more to come.
I know, okay, Councilmember Gillette.
Just as a follow-up, this is now the second time today that this issue has come up. Kim, is it possible, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, and you don't even have to put a name on it. You can put your own name on it, but I would like a list from the people who are involved of what they would consider to be missed opportunities for better collaboration on marketing, tourism, PR. I'd like to actually have a little bit more information about what we're not doing that we could be, and I understand it's going to be one-sided, so we can invite the chamber to come in and rebut anything that they like, but I think it's time just to put this down on paper and find out what's not happening that we think could be, and then we can argue about whether it should be, but I'd at least like to know from our staff what the exact sources of frustration are.
And I think I was going to add to that, because I do hear about the number of trade shows that are attended all over the United States by the tourism, and I think that would be golden opportunities to really work together to get different businesses to realize how wonderful we are and what a great place to do business. And what I'm hearing, though, is that maybe that could be improved upon.
Well, I think that really where our experience comes and where we're talking from today, so that we don't start World War III, is the marketing partnership, which is a group that was put together of mainly city departments that have very, very little marketing money to try to find ways to do our work, more effectively and efficiently. And in doing that, we look for synergies with other, city-sponsored or department, other entities that deal with marketing and promotion. So Lynch's Landing is part of that, as we've discussed, and so is tourism. So I think there are really two issues here. One is to look at tourism as it does its work, as it is described in the contract, and what they perceive that meaning. And then I think this is a separate, so I don't want them to get confused, because I know the stats that come from tourism, and I think they do a lot of great things. This is a separate group, that meets to look for opportunities that we can, hopefully spin off of some of the expertise that they have, or have them collaborate. They have a lot more money that is provided by the citizens than what we have, but ways to collaborate there. So I don't want to cloud the issue of, how they may do their job outside of this. I mean, I think that's separate, and they may have very good that's a heavy load to bear to do tourism for for the city of Lynchburg. So this is the marketing partnership. This is a very small piece of what they probably do, every day. But in being a small piece, I just think there, could be, more collaboration there. And for me personally, when we talk about economic development, tourism is, like I said, the most dynamic form of that. So I want to be reporting their numbers. I want to be talking about and be educated and be part of that process too, because we are really selling Lynchburg every day back to our businesses, back to our citizens, and as Mayor Foster pointed out, everywhere we go is an opportunity to do that. As Joanne stated, we're all advocates for tourism. We're all advocates for all of the assets and resources that we have here. And we need to take, I talk to people every day and say, you are my walking billboard. So I need to keep you as educated as possible about what we have to offer here. And
well, I think at the very least, we need to get all the members of the marketing group to discuss what they think the successes of that group have been and what the frustrations of that group have been, and every member of that group should do an evaluation of the quality of the experience they've had. And like I say, you want to strip identifiers off of it, that's fine, but we need, I want to see a list, because I want to know just exactly, if we're paying a lot of money, and if we're not getting everything we can out of that money, then we're taxing our citizens for no good reason.
Councilmember Perro.
Just to follow up on that note, I was looking at our external services provider folder, and we've got a partial list of the contract there. If we could get the full contract, unless it's like 40 pages, I'd be interested in reading that. Thanks.
Okay, anything else? It's 7 o'clock.
And I'd just like to take a moment to thank you all once again for your support on the Enterprise Zone. Because of that, I mean, J.Crew and Delta Star were both in that Enterprise Zone, so that just helped add another layer there. And the Enterprise Zone is what comes back to our commercial property owners here from the Enterprise Zone as of last year is 3 times what my budget is here. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a choice to leave now at 7:01, or we can do parking.
One piece of paper.
One piece of paper, unless they're,
Let's do parking, it needs to be on the list.
Can we go back to meeting minutes? Gee whiz, this is a nightmare.
what did you say?
Never mind. Go ahead. We're good.
Parking, it's one sheet. There's a decrease.
It's a decrease because of some capital, but there's also conversion of some positions. It is a cost center. The costs are being paid for by the revenues from the parking program.
Yes.
This one,
Councilmember Helgeson.
Yeah, I think we need to have this whole thing on the list. I realize it's a cost center. It's supposed to be, but before, years ago, before we had all these extra employees under this revenue-generating now entity, those revenues were going to the general fund.
Right.
So now they're going to just hire 2 more people or 2.5 more people. So I think this, just in a nutshell, if all it's doing is paying for itself, then why do it? So, and we can have that discussion kind of later. But it seems we're adding more people. It's kind of growing on this. Yeah, we're growing it. So.
Now's not the time to respond.
I told you it was going to be an
Well, that's
easy
why it's
one.
easy.
Might be one page. Put it on the list, and then we'll respond. Well, that's
To give a
good.
reason why I think it
Yes.
should be on the list.
Before we leave, though, you have it on the list, we're all through.
Good.
I wanted to kind of point out that Captain Ron Sanders and Tomo are in Japan, and that we keep them in our thoughts and our prayers, and the people of Japan. They have been through way beyond even terrible week, and just thought I'd throw that out, and may Captain Sanders and Tomo get back here safely.
Madam Mayor?
In this document, and bring your CIP and go through, we'll do the CIP on Tuesday.
Okay?
Okay? Not, unless you would rather do the externals on Tuesday and defer the CIP until later, but I think we can get you through the CIP, and probably ought to do the externals when we're not trying to squeeze it in between a regular work session and a regular council meeting.
All right.
Just like we did last week, agenda.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. That was helpful.
Councilmember Terry?
And kudos to everyone. The Blue Angels are coming, and that's why I wore my airplane bow tie today.
You need a jet cut.
I know, these are bombers. The only one I had. I have to get a more modern one.
Thank you all. Have a good evening. Thank you.